Hi people, welcome back to our three-part series on supplements. Okay, this is edition 202. If you haven't watched 101, go back. You'd be cheating yourself if you don't, because this won't make as much sense. Don't do that to yourself. Your boy Jame, Sacred Earth Health Food Store, supplement consultant. My boy Jody Lacatino, Thumos USA, Optimizing Men. We're going to jump in. Here we go. Jody, what you thinking?
I think I'm excited about this. I liked 101, James, and I'm really going to like 202, and I think you are as well. So 101, of course, is just the basics. Just to recap briefly, we talked about, James, you gave your top three, I gave my top three, and that's based on qualitative and quantitative data. What we'll do is we'll go just a little bit deeper on 202. We'll save some of that for our next series of 303. So let's go back. Let's kind of start from there, qualitative and quantitative data. So for qualitative data, we talked a little bit about how one feels, what kind of sleep that he or she may be getting, whether it's good, bad, or somewhere in between. And we also talked about energy. And of course, we gave supplement choices based on what those needs were.
Boom. And that's helpful, guys. Again, if you haven't watched 101, go watch 101. Okay? Go ahead, Jody.
Thank you. We also talked about quantitative data. And specifically, we referred to blood work, blood testing. Remember, we said if anyone hasn't done that, it's cheap, it's easy, it's affordable.
It's a no-brainer.
Gosh, it can be done without a doctor, right? So easier than ever. So do the quantitative testing via blood work. But we also talked about the beauty of fitness tracking devices in the Oura Ring. So again, quantitative data matters. So if we were to take that one step deeper per quantitative data, let's just assume that a person has gotten some blood work done. And as part of that blood work, let's say it's pretty comprehensive, which includes a metabolic panel. In that metabolic panel, specifically, what I would want to see is something around glucose. So what is the fasting/morning blood sugar? If that number, for example, is 80, well, that tells us one thing. It's not bad. It's pretty optimal. But if that number is 110, probably not where one wants to be.
Too high.
Too high. So what supplements are you thinking if that number is more like 110, James?
So guys, for managing your blood sugar levels, all right, there are some OGs, I will say. One particular OG is going to be your berberine, which happens to be an adaptogenic herb that works tremendously well. Another one is called Hinnotonia latiflora, right? Our friends in Germany discovered that, I believe it was in the 1940s. It's actually an herb that grows in Mexico. Point is, the Germans have been using it since the 1940s, decades, in order to manage the blood sugar level. So those are two traditional herbs, right? But then you got some minerals as well. You have chromium picolinate, which works incredibly well, and then another herb, Ceylon cinnamon. All of those are going to work to manage your blood sugar level effectively if it's too high. You don't want high blood sugar levels, perhaps for obvious reasons, guys. So what I just shared with you is some easy herbs and a mineral to help bring balance to that.
Yeah, love it. So this is not just us guessing. All of this is backed by science. You can easily go to the web. Within a couple clicks, you can find all of this. Healthline.com is a resource that I particularly like because I think it cuts through a lot of the nonsense and just gets to the meat of a lot of these studies to show that. So back to berberine. Berberine works. I mean, I've seen studies side by side with berberine compared to metformin, and they're both very effective. I've seen numbers that point to an A1C, which is a 3-month average, a 10% reduction in A1C with the proper use of berberine, similar to metformin. So that's pretty exciting in my mind.
I dig it. So Jody, let me ask you this, right? What is the importance of understanding and focusing on our blood sugar level to begin with?
Well, number one, we want to age gracefully, right? And so blood sugar is directly correlated with graceful aging. Number two, insulin resistance versus insulin sensitivity. If you've never heard of that, which I know you have, but some of the audience may have never heard of that, go look it up. So we want to reduce insulin resistance and improve insulin sensitivity. Berberine can help with that.
Yes.
By the way, an A1C, I don't think I mentioned the number there. So 5.6 is the number where when you get to 5.6 and above, it could be an indicator of one being pre-diabetic. So that's not ideal, that's not optimal, that's not where we want to be. My personal A1C is 4.7 to 4.8, which I'm very pleased with. Again, A1C is a 3-month average of blood sugar. that's a very good metric to know in your own body.
Cool. Makes sense to me. Good deal. So then, okay, blood sugar level. We covered that. Guys, don't forget what you just learned there. That's important. Put it in your back pocket. So then what's next?
What's next is, well, before we go to what's next, blood sugar levels with the right supplementation, getting those right, that can be measured both qualitative and quantitatively, right? Quantitative, we just talked about, right? So that blood work, that fasted blood sugar in the mornings, that blood glucose, and the A1C should be improving, right? Number two, you ought to feel better. Your energy should go up overall. The afternoon lows should improve. You should feel better. You should have more energy when you get that corrected.
If you know that you're on the right, rather, you know when you're on the right track, if that 3 or 4 o'clock slump isn't as intense, that's when you know you're playing this game right.
That's right. And so, of course, we're not doing that to eat a huge carb meal, 300 grams of carbs, throw a little berberine at it. Of course, that's not really aligned with what we're all about here, right? So there is still some basics that come into play, and we'll touch on some nutrition in our next video with 303.
It's 303, guys. Stay tuned for that.
James, question for you. So let's go back to qualitative for a minute. So woman walks into your shop, and she's interested in skin, hair, and nails. What do you think in supplement-wise?
Skin, hair, and nails, collagen, which is super hot buzzword. You guys right now, I'm sure you're aware of what collagen is. You're probably taking it, and that's a good thing. I'm a big fan of collagen for hair, skin, and nail production, but it's also good for bone health. It's good for gut health. It's rich in protein. It's more or less a catch-all. I would put it in that category, much like turmeric, CBD, and omega-3 fish oil as a catch-all, because it's lighting up so many systems at once at the same time. Briefly opening up collagen a little bit further, because we are in the 202 edition here. Different forms of collagen, powders and liquid. Which one is more effective? Well, tricky question. Always depends on the manufacturer and quality. Always, always, always. Guys, do not forget that. Second, absorption, right? So, guys, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out if you got a liquid and you got a powder, which one's going to absorb faster. Okay, there you go. So, a liquid collagen will be, in my opinion, more effective absorption and getting all those medicinal properties and having those experiences, right? Especially for you ladies, being able to literally see your hair, skin, and nails improve in quality and in strength. Typically doesn't take that long either. So there's that. And then going to a powder, you'll get the same results, but it will take a bit longer. So that's a little bit more in-depth perceptions on collagen. But I do think that is super popular right now because a lot of folks are realizing it's super important for the human body. In fact, most of our body arguably is made of collagen. So learning much more about that too, especially in relation to the gut microbiome. We'll circle on that later. What do you think?
I think I like it. And I think, frankly, the reason that a supplement is needed is because we're not eating whole foods. We're not eating the whole chicken. We're not eating the whole cow. We're not eating the bones.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it just makes sense to supplement. That's the woman's side. Another plug for the man. Sound good?
Yep.
Man walks in. Again, we're talking qualitative still. And let's just say he's 50. Or let's go 60. Prostate symptoms, right? The guy can't urinate the way he used to. He's jealous when he hears his 12-year-old peeing next to him. Prostate issues. I'm thinking supplementation. I'm thinking there are supplement formulas. Life Extension makes one with more than supplementation. Other herbs, other vitamins, other minerals, boron, selenium. Those are essential for prostate health. In fact, there are studies showing the benefits of selenium. I've seen as much as a 40% reduction in cancer or certain types of cancer based on selenium blood levels. So it's science and it's just a click away. So selenium, boron, supplementation, those three really come to mind whenever I think of prostate formulas for men.
Perfect. I would tack on turmeric, a concentrated curcumin, right product, because what does that do? That reduces inflammation. That is another catch-all, as I mentioned earlier. Wanted to tie that back down. But yeah, those together, taken on a daily, consistent basis for a man who's having prostate issues, that will help. Again, diet's critical. type of water you're drinking is also critical as well, and mindset to tack that on as well. 2, all critical, but that's a great starting point, I think. And again, supplements, 202.
Yeah, that's right. And it could be a starting point. It could be something that man continues forever. That man could also throw a drug at it, finasteride, which is going to block, if not kill off DHT. And that's got its own issues, so that's not always a magic bullet. In fact, a lot of times that would be the last thing that I would want to reach for. It is an option, but again, this is Supplements 101, and there's a lot we can do with supplements. So, back to the top 3 that we covered in 101. 202, you get to add 2 more, and only 2 more. And remember, that's based on qualitative and quantitative data. So let's say the qualitative and quantitative data says, okay, James, here are those 2 that this man or woman needs. It's walking into your shop. What are those 2?
Okay. So the equation is set as they're walking in. I have the information I need. I'm going to go ahead and put on the table a strong multivitamin. That's what I'm going to do first. And then I may very well, let's say we're looking at some high anxiety or some adrenal fatigue. Then I'm going to go, obviously go in that direction as well. So let's say that's what I'm seeing. Okay. So for the multivitamin, right? Why? Multivitamin and mineral formula. Okay. Vitamins and minerals, you guys, these are the building blocks for our body. They are critical. They are being depleted. They are being depleted. They're continuing to be depleted. They're very well depleted to begin with in our soil and in our crops, in our fruits and veggies, right? In our meats as well, right? So they're depleted. So that's why it's really more important than ever, with that said briefly, to focus on vitamins and minerals in your body. Jody, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I'm with you. If you ask me to choose an additional 2, multi's going to be in one of mine for sure. Because it's just that, it's a multi. So from a vitamin standpoint, by the way, these are micronutrients. Macronutrients are your protein, your fats, and your carbs, and we want to get that right. We'll touch on that in 303. But so these are the micronutrients. Vitamins A, D, E, those come to mind, all essential. What a multi's typically not going to have, and I will go get it somewhere else, or recommend people go get it somewhere else, almost always, magnesium and calcium. It's just not enough, so we typically want to add that to it. But like you, James, I'm big on the, I appreciate a multi more, when it comes down to it, more for the multi-mineral than even the multivitamin.
Sure.
Selenium, boron, chromium, iodine, which we spoke about in the last video. For example, selenium, it's a powerful antioxidant. The thyroid happens to like it as well. Yes, so we've seen a lot of thyroid issues. So it just makes sense to get that multi-mineral. Boron, so.
I like it. You like it. We like it. Guys, we hope you like it too. So there you go. Numero uno, multivitamin mineral formula. Numero dos. Again, if I'm looking at high anxiety, if I'm looking at adrenal fatigue, then I'm going to go to probably a complex. Especially if we're talking about adrenal fatigue, right? And so there's one particular formula I am very, very fond of. It's called Adrenalplex by International Pharma. I have been taking this on and off for 3 to 4 years, but lately, in the last 8 or 9 months, on every day. It's one of my go-to. It's a staple. It's a backbone for me. Why? Okay, why an adrenal formula? Because we're stressed out. Okay, everyone has a different, we can call it a stress load, right? And with some folks, it's very easy to see their stress load. For other folks, it may not be so easy, but we all have it. And there's different layers. There's the emotional, the psychological to a degree, that there's the physical, there's the mental, there's all these layers. And each you could actually say has their own stress load, right? And so reducing stress is critical. As they say, stress is a killer. Yes, stress is a killer for sure. Because what's happening when you're stressing? You're, put it in a nutshell, overworking your adrenal glands, which is overproducing way too much cortisol. This is messing up all kinds of things because you're always triggered in that flight or fight response, right? So reducing the stress, an adrenal formula can help you do that. Jody, what do you think about that?
I think you're dead on. I think this is the most stressed out society that it's very stressed out. Let's just say that. If you think about today's sort of lifestyle with anybody, even kids, and especially kids, they're on iPads, which is blue light, which is terrible for deep sleep. I know because I track it and I see what happens when I'm on my phone, especially late at night or before bed. Yeah. It just messes it up. It just messes up deep sleep. So how do you recover? How do you get over stress if you're not getting the proper amount of deep sleep? So I think a lot of folks are on their phones or even TVs to a certain extent, but I'm really thinking about the phones and any of the screens that's just spitting out that blue light. Proper sleep, the right amount of the right type, good quality sleep, REM and deep, sunshine, grounding, getting out into nature is huge, right? So I think there's something to be said for getting away from technology and getting back into nature. That's sort of medicine that God gave us, and it's just beautiful. So it's not that we want to eliminate all stress. I want stress. You want stress. That's where the growth happens, right? That's a big reason for our existence, is to go through growth. But the spigot is turned on all the time. We got to learn to step away, to detox, to turn that spigot off. And so, yeah.
Beautifully said. Guys, I'm going to encourage you to rewind that part many times and listen to what Jody just said regarding stress. It was beautiful. There's no substitute for being in nature. There's just not. We are biologically designed to do well, to do our best, to thrive in nature. And so the digital toxicity, electric toxicity from these machines here are posing a greater and greater threat to our livelihood and are just increasing our stress load. So there has to be balance. With that said, what is a symptom of all this as well? Back to anxiety, back to feeling anxious. Few good remedies I have in my shop for anxiety, but I guess what I'm going to put on the table for us as far as anxiety is a good, high-quality CBD product. It just works well. The CBD market is the Wild West. Maybe you guys are getting a sense of that. I'm here to tell you it's exactly what's happening, right? So really do your digital research and find a quality company that's going to be all the things. Full spectrum, organic, high terpene. That will absolutely help with anxiety quick. You can take it every day, or if you're just having a panic attack, you can take it right as a panic attack is occurring, and that'll help bring down the intensity of that panic attack. So that's what I would throw on for the anxiety, and then
by the way,
go from there.
If I may,
please.
COVID time. What are people doing? They're inside their house. They're not socializing. They're wearing masks. They're not hugging. They're not touching. What happens when we do that? Oxytocin.
That's right.
Right? It's needed. It's essential, and we're getting less of that. So I think the bottom line and the punchline perhaps is we have to be intentional today, more now than ever, when it comes to reducing stress. Breath work. I'm not very good at it. Are you very good at it? Meditation, breath work.
When I make the time, I can get into that space nicely. But then again, we're talking about stress. We're talking about making time, right? That's just the thing.
Which kind of says he's not very good at it. Which is the same with me. So if we're very intentional to create that space, we can make it happen. But I'm living day-to-day life. I'm raising 3 boys. I have 2 jobs. Everything else just like you do. So it's harder now than ever.
It is harder now than ever, and I guess unfortunately we're in COVID times, which does seem to complicate things. So I enjoyed what you said about oxytocin. I'll throw in dopamine. I'll throw in serotonin. We want the body to function optimally, and there are simply do's and don'ts, right? And so when you're doing the do's and you're doing it right, then guess what? Dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin are being produced in a balanced way, giving you what you need, and you're feeling it. You're feeling better. We're optimizing health. That's the goal. That's why you guys are with us right now. You're watching this and you're learning and hopefully becoming more passionate about it as we are about living our optimal lives. It's what we're meant to do, and it's certainly more fun.
Check this out. So beautiful comment about balancing those hormones. We are, perhaps in the first time of history, we are actually seeing receptor burnout. And I'm thinking about dopamine specifically. This is back to screen time. And it's not just kids, because we're guilty as well. Every time we hit a ding, there's science behind this, right? The psychological addiction of Facebook and etc. But our kids are spending more and more time on these screens, and they're actually starting to see evidence of dopamine burnout. That's a problem. That's a behavioral problem. In fact, that's a drug when we talk about dopamine. So serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, these have to be balanced. So I think the punchline here is we have to be intentional about getting those balance of hormones back into homeostasis in our lives.
Yes, we have to be conscious and aware, you guys. That's how this begins. So
that was top 3, and then you added 2. So I'll give you my 2 if I may.
Please.
All right, so I'm with you on the multivitamin. And in fact, I could probably argue that multi would have been in my top 3, but we were choosing those 3s based on qualitative and quantitative data, so we made certain assumptions. So multivitamin and mineral, a good one. I'm thinking Life Extension. There are other brands. I keep plugging Life Extension just because the quality's high and the price is low. So the value overall, I believe, is very good.
Well said.
And you sell it, and I sell it, and so it just kind of makes sense. I don't sell it. I'm an affiliate partner, so it just makes sense. And the multivitamin mineral for the reasons that we stated. The other, which again could go in my top 3 and typically does, fish oil.
Boom.
Love me some fish oil. I mean, it just makes sense. I have actually, so yes, quantitatively, one could look at blood work and say, okay, I don't like where my triglycerides are, my cholesterol, and I don't want to debate how much attention people put in, into cholesterol and particle size and everything else. But fish oil does improve cholesterol levels. It'll raise the good and lower the bad. Triglycerides, what else? Plaque. It's actually been demonstrated to reduce plaque in the heart. But what excites me the most, and this is where it really gets real for me, is about 10 years ago, I walked into when I was living in Houston, I worked with a nutritionist, and we looked at my blood under a microscope and just kind of looked at the way that this blood moved around, the mobility, the modality, etc. And then I stepped out, I hydrated well, so I just came in off the street, so chances are I wasn't real hydrated, right? Hit some water, took a couple of fish oil, waited, I don't remember how much time, maybe 30 minutes perhaps, went back, poked my finger again, looked at that blood underneath the microscope. Wow, it was night and day. All of a sudden the mobility has greatly increased, and I'm watching this blood kind of move around much more freer. It was less like sticky, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow. So I already knew that fish oil was an anti
coagulation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It thins the blood. And I've now seen it for myself underneath a microscope. So to me, that's fantastic. I'm big on fish oil.
Great story too, guys. I encourage you to put that one in your back pocket. Under a microscope, your blood literally just becomes more fluid and thinner and flexible, immutable and smoother. Just all the things. That's what we want. We want everything to flow smoothly in a balanced way. So groovy. Back to omega-3s. That's great, you guys. Quick recap. Heart health, brain health, joint health, mood, gut health, all the things, right? It is indeed in the catch-all category. Beautiful. I love it.
Bring us to a close, brother 202.
Guys, we hope, and girls, we hope you learned something in this 202. We have a feeling that you did, okay? Stay tuned. We have 303 coming up on deck. Guys, if you're finding this material interesting, send it to someone you love. Get them on board. Let's spread this conversation. Let's continue the dialogue. We appreciate your time, you guys. And of course, we'll see you soon. Cheers.